After the break, the father of one of London's youngest stab victims, Jermaine Calls, speaks about his grief and calls for change. Tonight, Jermaine Calls' dad on his grief and the questions left unanswered over his teenage son's murder.
How are you doing? Not great. Not doing well at all.
Marcus Walker was jailed for life for Jermaine's murder. But tonight, his father Julius tells us about the impact on his family and their campaign for change.
People that in my situation, that have been through lost ones, and just going through pain and waiting for justice, and there's no justice.
Healthcare costs, social care costs, fire costs. Just how much do smokers cost London? We'll explain. A community's fight to save what it calls its heart.
It's more than just an ice rink, it is a community.
Questions. Did I really need to stress, or did I just need me a new perspective?
And Avelino will be here to tell us about his new album ahead of his big London show. Good evening. Tonight, we start with an interview with the father of one of London's youngest victims of knife crime. Jermaine Calls' family were torn apart in November 2021 when the 14-year-old was stabbed to death with a machete. His father, Julius, told us that despite his killer being jailed, so many questions remain unanswered about his death, and that despite his grief, he wants to fight for change. He spoke to our reporter, Kath Okpata.
How are you doing? Not great. Not doing well at all. Just memories and memories.
It's been nearly 2 years since the murder of Jermaine Calls. Nearly 2 years of his father standing in his son's room, hoping and wishing to see him safe in bed.
Jermaine photos. Yeah, because Jermaine used to be always around, making us happy. And right now, like you can see, he's not here, and his memories we have, and his photos, and that's all we can live on with. His pictures and things. And thinking like he's there, which he's not.
In November 2021, Jermaine was stabbed 7 times in the streets of Croydon. His killer, Marcus Walker, seen here holding a machete, was sentenced last week to 19 years in prison. Although the main perpetrator, it's believed there are others also to blame.
Start off with the circumstances of the case, please.
Last month, the police confirmed they'd arrested other individuals in connection to Jermaine's case.
There is obviously, and rightly so, an ongoing investigation around other people that were present on that day.
He's the one that started the fight, and he's the one that had the knife when we disarmed him.
We don't yet know what's happened to the individuals arrested, only that they've been under investigation for over a year.
I feel sick. Make me feel sick, like I wanted to throw up when they say that. Because the police and the CPS, they have all the CCTV, everything in front of them. People that in my situation, that have been through lost ones, and just going through pain and waiting for justice, and there's no justice.
I never know what to say in these things.
Well, I want them to act, yeah, and let them do the job, but do it the right way, because it's like they're taking shortcut, and it's not fair.
You can so see Julius there hurting, and the police have responded to that interview, haven't they?
Yes, well, but a bit of background. What Julius is saying is that there are other people involved in his son's death, and it's taken too long, nearly a year, to bring them to justice. There's one man who allegedly punched and pushed Jermaine to the floor on that night, and there's another woman who hid Marcus Walker in a care home. Now, we know of these 2 individuals, but there are others involved, and just about an hour ago, the Met sent a statement saying that 6 people who were arrested in connection to the investigation, they remain under investigation, and that they remain committed to bringing all of those involved in Jermaine's death to justice.
OK, Kath, thanks very much. Now, before former serving Metropolitan Police Officer Wayne Couzens went on to kill Sarah Everard, he was caught flashing twice in a McDonald's in Kent and police were called. But then days later, he went on to murder Sarah. Well, there's a police disciplinary hearing underway at the moment over whether the officer sent to investigate followed correct procedures. Well, today the restaurant manager gave evidence and Antoine Allen is outside New Scotland Yard for us. Antoine, what did he say?
Yes, the restaurant manager gave contradictory evidence to the story of former police officer Samantha Lee. Now, in short, as you just said, Charlene, just days before Wayne Couzens would go on to murder Sarah Everard, he flashed a female employee at the McDonald's restaurant in Kent. Now, that particular restaurant's CCTV cameras automatically delete, but they are other CCTV cameras. Now, when it comes to the hearing, they have to decide whether Samantha Lee, the officer, was shown those CCTV images by the restaurant manager. The restaurant manager says that he showed her all the evidence that he had, that included receipts and a witness statement. Today, he told the hearing, I showed her on the actual screen in the office, I showed her what I looked at before using the time from the receipts, and it shows the car coming around. He says that the CCTV footage obviously showed Wayne Couzens' car registration as well, whereas Samantha Lee says that he showed her how the CCTV works, not any evidence that would have identified Wayne Couzens. Now, the hearing has to decide whether she followed the correct investigative procedures. This was said yesterday. One of the central issues of the case is whether there's been a horrible misunderstanding or whether Samantha Lee has rushed her work and not passed on the relevant information. The restaurant manager also went on to say that she spent around 10 minutes at the restaurant listening to his report. Samantha Lee actually denies all of the allegations, but if it's found that she committed gross misconduct, she'll never be able to serve again as a police officer.
OK, thanks very much, Antoine. A 61-year-old man from Sydenham who scammed the passport office for over a decade has been jailed. Anthony Beard recruited people willing to sell their expired passports, often people with drug or alcohol problems, who look similar to his clientele of criminals. Beard successfully applied for over 100 passports of what he claims was a 20-year period. Two other men, also from London, were jailed for their roles in the scam.
No comment.
One of London's business tycoons, Javad Marandi, has lost a legal battle to remain anonymous over a money laundering case involving a business associate. Mr Marandi has donated over £600,000 to the Conservative Party between 2014 and 2020. The businessman vehemently denies any wrongdoing. The government says it's committed to making sure the UK does not have dirty money. And Greggs has reached an agreement with Westminster City Council to open until 2 a.m. at its flagship Leicester Square store. The council initially blocked it from serving pastries after 11 p.m, saying it would cause late-night disturbances and antisocial behaviour. Next, the financial impact smoking has on London has been revealed in a major new report. The charity Action on Smoking and Health, or ASH as it's also known, has put the price tag at £2.6 billion a year. Now that's collating healthcare costs, social care costs and fire costs. And it's renewed calls to make the city smoke-free as soon as 2030, as Anila Dami reports.
Nearly 800,000 people in the Big Smoke smoke. While London may be a financial hub, cigarette addiction is hitting the economy hard. With smokers vulnerable to sickness, they could face job losses and are in lower paid jobs. And now new data shows smoking-related ill health has hit businesses by £2.6 billion annually, including £1.3 billion lost to smoking-related unemployment, £1.1 billion lost to smoking-related lost earnings, and £175.3 million in smoking-related early deaths. The overall cost to society is £3 billion, with Action for Smoking and Health saying it's affecting individuals' pockets.
It's around £2,500 a year the average smoker is spending on smoking. During a cost of living crisis, in a city like London, the cost of rent, there are a few things that you can take out of your weekly budget, but you can take smoking out.
They also say it's impacting the country.
We have labour shortages, we have too many people who are unwell and unable to work, and that's having a really big impact on productivity in this country.
In London in 2021, the borough with the highest proportion of current smokers was Enfield, with 18.5%, which is nearly 1 in 5, followed by the City of London at 18.3%, while the lowest proportion was for Camden and Harrow.
Smoking is still the leading cause of preventable ill health and death in the country. There are many services within the community to help people stop smoking, like this bus here in Lambeth.
Smoking-related hospital admissions and primary care treatments cost over £240 million yearly.
When I was in clinical practice, my outpatient clinics and inpatient wards were full of people suffering from the effects of smoking. It's the biggest cause of avoidable harm to the adult population.
Supporting tools, smokers are 3 times as likely to quit. Groups are calling for more funding, including a levy on tobacco companies, to help smokers stop.
You could raise this £700 million. This is excess profits the tobacco industry is making because they sell this addictive, unique product. And they should absolutely be forced to fit the bill for ending the harms from smoking, given the unbelievable amounts of money that the industry has made.
The government says it is committed to its ambition of creating a smoke-free society by 2030, with funding in place, where there could be less people smoking, and campaigners hope in better health and in work. Anila Dami, ITV News.
Still to come on the programme. About to hit the runway. But first, a community's fight to save their local ice rink. Islington Council said it's decided not to reopen the one at Sobel Leisure Centre after last year's flooding because they say not enough people use it and it's expensive to run. But residents believe it's integral to the well-being of the community and have been speaking to Rags Martel.
The ice gave the community warmth. The Sobel rink brought people together. But now Islington Council wants to stop it all and turn it into a soft play area.
Having this place lost, it's going to have a massive impact on the community.
Berry Saunders first started skating at Sobel when she was 4.
Coming from a lone parent working class background, skating is a very difficult sport to get into because of how expensive it is. And the only reason that I could skate here was because of the prices, because it was the cheapest place to skate. It's really important that we keep it open so that people can afford to be involved in the sport.
This is how Sobel looks like today, without ice and no skating. The leisure centre got flooded last August and the rink hasn't reopened since. While the leisure centre is up and running again, Islington Council now says ice skating is too expensive and was losing money even before the energy crisis. But campaigners want to get back on the ice.
It's more than just an ice rink, it is a community.
What do you want the council and the leisure centre to do?
Offer us a proper consultation. We can't see why both can't coexist, the ice rink and the soft play. We can't see how that can't complement each other. We meet the needs of everyone from disability to mental health. If we were to lose it, it would have such a detrimental effect on the whole of Islington.
So we can't go in here at the moment because it's a building site, is that right?
Yes, all been destroyed as a result of the flooding last August, unfortunately. We've looked at the figures and numbers and that we don't intend to reopen the ice rink because it was making quite a big loss of over £250,000 per year before the rise in energy prices. So it's something that the council itself cannot afford and doesn't think it's sustainable.
But we spoke to a lot of people who say it's not just about making profit, it's about putting people first.
It's definitely not about making profit whatsoever. It's not about profits. It's about whether or not the council can afford it.
As for Greenwich Leisure Centre, they told us they were heartbroken when the ice rink was flooded, but now believe there's an opportunity to get more people in here without it reopening. But campaigners say money is not an issue. They have 2 investors ready to take over the ice rink. The skaters are now planning a protest outside Islington Council on Thursday evening to save Sobel. Rags Martel, ITV News.
Now, our guest tonight has been described as one of the best British rappers yet to drop a debut album. But that's, well, to not have released a debut album. And that's all changed for Avelino with the release of God Save the Streets. Though he's no stranger to ITV News in London now, having previously spoken to us about his work in the local community in Tottenham.
Hello, I'm Avelino, born and bred right here, North London, Tottenham. Music, you know, the mixtapes, the early days.
And he certainly has been focusing on it after much anticipation. The first full album's out and getting brilliant reviews.
Questions. Did I really need to stress or did I just need me a new perspective? I ain't got enough fingers on both my hands to count all these blessings. Everybody goes through things and I'm no exception.
And he certainly has been focusing on that, and it is a brilliant album. Avelino, thanks so much for joining us. Now, you are an amazing storyteller, I know that.
Thank you.
So tell us the history behind the album. Tell us about the album, your inspiration, and also about its name.
Yeah, so the album's called God Save the Streets. Why did I call it God Save the Streets? Because I remember seeing the artwork for the Sex Pistols, God Save the Queen, their single, and the inspiration just came to me. Because if I'm honest, like, you know, I've always wondered about the phrasing God save whoever the monarch is, and I'm just like, you know, it's not even, we don't even say God protect or God. In my mind, from where I'm standing, growing up working class and poor, it's the streets that need saving. You know what I mean? I look outside in my environment and I'm like, it's our people that really need saving. The poor people. There's millions of us, so you know, it just made a lot of sense to me. And you know, things came around full circle because I was lucky enough to get Glenn Matlock from the Sex Pistols playing actually guitar on my album. So
No way.
Yeah.
And that link continues, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
you're going to be playing at a very special club in Soho, which also has a link to the Sex Pistols.
Exactly, man. It's a privilege, man. It's beautiful. You know, I'm excited to do it. My headline show, my debut album. It's been a long time coming, but more importantly, the right time. You know, I go around screaming, "Rap's the new punk." You know what I mean? Because really, when you look at the lineage of UK street music, would say, you know, maybe the punks are not, you know, who are, you know, the music of the working class today, but rap now is where you get the mosh pits, you know, the kind of almost anti-establishment energy, etc. So, you know, I'm glad to embody that.
There's a lot of crossover there, and you know, and that's why you're going to be at the 100 Club.
Yeah.
And I remember when your first mixtape was released back in 2015, and there were rumblings about you releasing the album then. And what, we're 8 years on from that? So tell us what took so long.
Do you know what? Because your music can never be. There's a saying that was important to me making this album, is that your music can never be any more or less than you are as a human being. So I had to get there in life before I could, you know, carry such an important title and deliver it and do it justice as God Save the Streets. I had to, you know, trade youth for maturity, you know, ignorance for enough wisdom for the right perspectives to speak to and for the streets, you know. I just mentioned off air, like, it's so heartbreaking hearing the story about the young man earlier. Like, it, you know, when I was a young kid, 14, but this issue begins in the mind, you know what I mean? It's heartbreaking, you know what I mean?
And it's stuff that you do talk about on the album. It has such depth and you have such a way with words. It really is very beautiful. So we wish you the best of luck at 100 Club.
Man. Thank you so much.
And thank you for coming back on the show.
Thank you for
And
having
you can
me.
come back anytime, Avelino. You know that.
Thank you.
All right, great to
Thank you,
see you.
thank
Great
you.
to see you.
Appreciate you.
Now, walking the runway takes some courage, but even more so for models taking part in a fashion show in London tonight. They're overcoming some extraordinary challenges, and Sally's here to tell us why it's just so special, isn't it?
Well, you can see I put my sparkly shoes on today, which is about the best thing about me being on a catwalk. The rest of it's not great. But the lady I was with was wearing full sequins, and she has Parkinson's. And she says that because she's got a bit of a shake, if she wears sequins, she looks like a human glitter ball. I thought it was such a nice way of looking at a difficult situation.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're running a cabaret evening tonight in London at Proud, and the idea being that they're going to raise money for Parkinson's UK, which affects thousands of people in London and the UK. Let's take a look.
If last time was anything to go by, tonight will raise the roof and, hopefully, a lot of money. As long as I'm nowhere near it.
I haven't worked out what to do yet.
Oh.
This is like, yeah.
That's it, isn't it?
Attitude.
How not to do it by Sally.
I think that's exactly what I did last year. This year I'm just going to do that and do something different. Bit of a turn.
Emma Lawton has had Parkinson's for 10 years now, and here's a reason why she wants more people to know about the condition.
when you're walking down the street and you're shaking and you're young like me, people don't assume Parkinson's. They assume you're drunk or on drugs.
Tonight is a big moment for Emma because the last time she modelled and did comedy for Catwalk to Cure, and in fact for the last 5 years, her neck has been stuck on her chest.
That was something I thought I was going to get stuck with. It was a condition that they didn't know what had happened. It's not Parkinson's related, but I spent 5 years looking at the floor essentially.
But a risky operation and 30 titanium screws later, she can now literally hold her head up high.
To now be able to walk down that catwalk and look at people and see people's faces. Eye contact was the reason I had that surgery, because eye contact is everything to me.
The Catwalk to Cure event is an evening of fashion, comedy and music, all to raise money and awareness about Parkinson's.
Do you know how many people suffer from it in this country?
Yeah, so it's the fastest growing neurological condition in the world, and around 145,000 people in the UK are living with Parkinson's.
The model Charlotte Edwards has curated it for the charity Parkinson's UK because her late father had the condition.
I had it for about 8 years before he passed away, and yeah, it's just so awful to watch. So I just thought I wanted to do something to raise, obviously, money for Parkinson's UK, but more awareness of Parkinson's.
I think that's the thing. I've got a lot of friends now with Parkinson's, and if you lined us all up in a row, all of us would present different symptoms. It's like a really bad lucky dip. You know, you kind of get all this weird collection of things, and I think it's hard then to recognise Parkinson's, but it's also harder to kind of know how to help people.
And that's what tonight will help with. 5 of the models have Parkinson's, but here, under Waterloo Bridge, regardless of the condition, they'll keep dancing.
We wish them the best of luck, but let's talk about weather now. It was beautiful today.
I know, it's so nice. When we get that sun, it's getting really warm now. And we had such a miserable, well, not miserable, but dull beginning to May. Apparently we had 28% of our normal amount of sunshine. So now we're in the second half of May, and in 2 weeks, everybody, it's the start of meteorological summer. So hopefully it'll continue like this. It's certainly looking not too bad this week. Here we go.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles. Car, charger and energy.
Hello again. Well, I've not seen one of these before, a photo anyway. It is a pregnant squirrel, isn't that gorgeous? Now, Rob, your job is to try and get some photos of its babies. Good luck. So we have still got some quite fresh starts to come. Can't quite rule out a touch of grass frost. In the daytime, some nice warm sunny spells, but it is colder in a touch of that breeze or under any cloud. And our weather is mostly dry, the odd shower here or there. So let's take a look at the detail for you. That cloud breaking up this evening. Hopefully you'll get some evening sunshine, and overnight the skies continue to clear, very much like last night. The temperatures dropping down, and in the countryside in particular, that's where it'll get cooler, but probably not quite as cool as last night. We could still get down to, though, a 3 or 4, a bit warmer in the towns and cities. So a little bit fresh first thing tomorrow, but some nice sunshine initially, the best of the sunshine first thing. You can see that cloud starting to fill in as the hours go by. A few showers maybe around late morning, lunchtime, but most people staying dry, and the temperature's doing quite well, particularly in that sun. Highs of 17 to 19. A little bit cooler on the east coast with that slight easterly flow. And then into the evening, generally fairly similar, staying dry with that cloud breaking up. So we'll get another cool start as we head on into Thursday. The highest chance of showers at the moment on Friday, but I will take that as a weekend. Here's the pollen.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
So our pollen levels have now dropped down to low because from today we're looking at grass pollen now. So not too bad, but there is still oak pollen in the air. That is your full forecast for now.
And finally, to the People's Projects, the chance for you to help decide where thousands of pounds of National Lottery funding is spent. Every night this week, we'll be showcasing a project that hopes to improve the lives of people in their community. The People's Projects is a partnership between ITV and the National Lottery Community Fund. And this evening, we're highlighting the work of the Halo Play Cafe, who help young children cope with bereavement.
Halo Children's Foundation is a charity supporting children and their families with bereavement.
What's the first colour? Can everybody see the first colour? Yellow. Yellow. And where's the yellow monster?
We run expressive art and play sessions to allow children to express their loss in a safe place.
You could feel angry, couldn't you? But you could still be smiling, and they could still be, and it's a bit like when we talked about the colour monster. He had lots of different feelings, didn't he, that were all mixed up together.
Sadly, in 2011, my children's father passed away very suddenly of a misdiagnosed brain tumour, and I was looking for support for my daughters who were just 2 and 3 weeks old as they grew to ask where their dad was. And that kind of just grew over time to supporting, 50 families. And yeah, then local schools were asking for support, and we were referred families through other national charities, which showed the need for support and to continue to provide this. We would like to fund, a counsellor to be based at Halo to ensure that families can come and access the support when they need it.
Here at the cafe we run sort of a workshop session for young people, which is more of a group session, so that they can meet other young people and do sort of different activities with them and understand sort of where they are and how things feel for them. It can be very lonely when a partner or a parent has died and you don't know what to do yourself. There's not a lot of support for young people. So as a parent, if you're able to take your child somewhere, it feels comforting to be able to do that.
And what I found really valuable about Halo is that just being here, everyone's had a similar experience of loss, of devastating loss. A loss that you can't explain. It's just so large. Even though you may have sympathy and empathy from other people, it just feels better being with people that have an understanding. With the children, I think it's just that they could just be. And they all know that they've got those emotions. They all know that they've been through something really horrible, but they know they've got that in common, and it's just, they just play.
The 3 projects with the most votes will receive a grant of up to £70,000 and the runners-up will be awarded up to £10,000. To vote, go to itv.com/thepeoplesprojects. Voting closes at 12 noon on Friday the 26th of May. You can only vote once per region and you'll need an email address or mobile phone number to vote. Terms and conditions and privacy notice can be found on the website. That's it from us. The ITV News at 6:30 is up next with Mary, of course. But for now, from all of us here on the London team, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.